Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to the IDEA Committee meeting of March 19th, 2025. I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:06 p.m. Okay. Roll call.
And roll call, committee member Highsmith is absent. Committee member Horton here, committee member Fong right now is absent. Committee member Mark.
That's here.
Committee
Couple of
member-
countries away.
That's why the lag.
Yeah. Committee member Zoltowski.
Here.
And Chair Dennis.
Here.
And, as you know, committee member Leila Khalil has resigned from the committee.
Okay, we already have, I guess, the consideration for remote. Okay, staff roll call.
Oh, yeah, we did that right now.
Okay, and introductions.
We could have that again when committee member Highsmith is in attendance.
Okay. Gotcha.
Hopefully next month. It's gonna really. It's. Some things happen in Genentech. Not great for DNA, so. I don't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I bet, yeah. So approval of the agenda.
First.
Right.
Second. Okay, roll call vote, committee member Horton,
Hi.
committee member Mark. Committee member Zoltowski.
Yes.
And Chair Dennis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. No members of the public are on, huh?
No public comment.
Great. So we'll go to approval of the minutes of February 25th, 2025. Can I get a first?
First.
Second.
Thank you.
Roll call vote, committee member Horton,
Hi.
committee member Mark.
Yep.
And committee member Zoltowski.
Yes.
And Chair Dennis.
Are we doing new business?
Mhm.
Let's get rolled over from last time.
Old David.
Oh, it's old is new again. Are we actually doing this, or are we kind of waiting until
Up to
everyone
the
is here?
committee, up to the committee. Would you like to wait
Can I
until?
look over your shoulder, because I forgot to print it?
Oh,
Those, the shared stuff.
Chair and Vice Chair, would you like to roll that over? Until,
What do you think?
does anybody want to be considered for one of these for now?
Well, if we have 6 people, right? Didn't you tell me there were 6 people in the
Mhm.
committee? Right? It would be
Mhm.
better if we had more
The other
people. I mean,
I know, we're kind of like.
but sooner or later, we're gonna have to do something, or else the council's gonna not like it. So to speak.
Before we, confirm that we'll roll this over, are we looking at any new committee members?
I haven't posed it to the council yet, and they haven't told me otherwise,
Okay.
so.
But I
you
thought-
know,
recruit
To
again?
recruit
Yeah.
for the seventh.
But I
member.
thought there were for 7 of them, okay.
For the seventh member, yeah.
Yeah.
I think right now, they kind of do it in batches. There's nothing to be filled except for the idea committee, so it'll probably be a while for the next recruitment period.
Yeah.
They're hoping maybe a male.
Mhm.
Committee member. can come in. Any suggestions from the committee members about recruitment or requests?
Maybe we can, open up a special election.
A special recruitment, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we can, I mean, if people feel like it's,
I mean, I have to tell you the thing that I think we just talked about before you think came in, I apologize for that, is, I just feel like there hasn't been any direction from the committee on, they thought we were soft in the stuff that we had planned for next year, you know, that had been done kind of before. Hi there, thank you, beautiful.
I'm not sure, right.
Well, there you go, maybe we have to reconsider what we just said. Anyway, I think we do need to have that conversation, but it's not for us to choose the direction. It's for the council to choose the direction. It's for us to work on the direction that they were supposed to give us, I think. But you tell me you have more experience, the two of you have more experience in it, but I just feel like,
I think there's a little bit of both, just finding that
I know.
comfortability from both,
correct.
and like, I think that'll help, but maybe there is some more strong feelings about what to do going forward. Maybe with the new chair, vice chair, I don't know. You guys wanna, we just, new business right now, Marcia, which is. Selection of chair and vice chair. Does anybody here wanna actually volunteer themselves or be considered for selection?
new to this.
Anybody else?
Yeah, and I think too, that, yeah, you know, this is still a relatively new, you know, committee. Alex, I think you're probably the most tenured here, but I mean, I'm not like trying to push it off on anybody, but I do agree that, you know, we need to probably, you know, and maybe that consists of, maybe Alex, us getting together and really trying to like hash through some things, because the experience that you bring in and just kind of see what we can kind of present to the committee as a whole.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm happy to talk more about it on the like report out of the liaison meeting. I can share too, and I don't know if the expectation is that the role will change. I've served as the vice chair and the chair, and neither of them were like particularly laborious, but I think that that is also like an outcome of not, to your point, Carol, of like, we were just sort of like, what are we doing? You know, and so if we get a stronger direction from city council on what we are like allowed to do in some ways, and again, like we can share more about it. But I think, you know, I think if they open the aperture of what we can do, I think that the role of the chair and the vice chair could be larger. Thus far, it has been mainly administrative and sort of like really just leading the meetings and like, you know, approving, you guys do all the work.
But I think that's the point, like who's on first, you know, we're kind of doing like who's on first, and I think. I don't know you very well, I certainly don't know anybody here very well, but I think there's any number of us that would be willing to provide leadership, not decision leadership, but direction, like, we're gonna do this today and our deliverable is due on whatever the day is, you know, for example. I think, you know, but I don't know if that's what's wanted and needed, because I do believe that it is rational to assume that Brisbane, if we are a welcoming committee, then we should at least try to change the words that are become, you know, the political four-letter words here, like diversity. You know, but you can still say the same principles without saying that. You can say welcoming. You know, everyone is welcome here, which means the same thing, but it'll take some thought process here to do that. But I'm not gonna jump in and do that if they don't want us to do that. You know, I don't know how you feel, but that's.
Well, I think my thing is, I have not solidly heard it, or maybe I've been in space somewhere, but where Brisbane is not using, you know, idea or diversity, equity, and accountability. I haven't heard that.
No, they haven't,
Right.
but everybody else is. Not everybody else, but
Yeah.
many places are.
Oh, yeah.
All
Yeah.
stuff are doing it, and
Mhm.
the political, again, this is politics here, but the political situation is such that, it would be probably not the brightest idea not to at least to consider what it would be like if we came out guns blazing for DEI, for
Mhm.
example. I don't think that's a wise decision. I don't think it's wrong. I just don't think it's wise to do that. So that's just
yeah.
that's my bigger thought about how to get what we want, but not walk into a trap. if you will.
controversial-
Yeah, a trap, unnecessarily.
Yeah, I think that makes, I mean, that sounds right, and I think we did hear at the liaison meeting that like there was a desire to. Sort of figure out what the remit is,
Mhm.
and so
Okay.
it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is that you wanna wait. On the chair and vice chair until there's like a clear directive of what that would actually entail.
What, maybe we could. I don't wanna take over here, but maybe it would be good for those people who weren't there. To hear about the liaison committee,
So,
that
right,
report, if you don't like to jump into that, then
Mhm.
maybe will help this make this a global discussion.
right, but I just, the order of the agenda that we just approved is the
Oh,
chair first, so.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
a sort
Yeah.
We
let's
can move
do
it
that.
after work plan. What about that? Right before announcement?
Yeah, let's do that, and obviously, we'll carry this new business over to
The next meeting?
maybe. I mean, yeah, sure, no, we'll go with that.
Well, let's get right to the report out of the liaison meeting then. I don't really have a staff report. I wanted kind of to give it to the members that were actually there. But also just wanted to let folks know that there was supposed to be a meeting between Jeremy and he unfortunately got sick, so
Mhm.
Oh,
that could be the direction.
Bummer, is he sick
Or-
again? He was.
Yeah, so he's better now. but so now- The direction was to meet with the city
Mhm.
manager, but
Mhm.
that didn't
Okay.
happen, so. Just think of this as like kind of like. You know, I think what came out of it is like, we'll do the report at the liaison meeting, but in terms of the work plan review, just think of it as kind of like. The second phase of idea, it's just like we don't have to be constrained about the work plan and also constrained about what we've done in the past.
Right.
Well, I was only there as a public, not because I was a member of the committee, and I sort of sat by, it was a kind of funny thing, I was. A public, I was a public and not a committee member.
Thank you, Ingrid. So are we on to the work plan review?
Liaison meeting report out.
Okay,
So what do you guys think? I'm also gonna pull up the. What were some of the takeaways? Maybe we could start there.
so I think, for me, I thought it was a good meeting, and for me, I think just getting a little bit of insight into what, the mayor would like, but also getting to know him a little bit better, I think, and both how he thinks and what he wants, but and it seems like nobody has any really solid grasp of like, here are your marching orders. And that's not a bad thing. I think we're feeling it out and still, even though, for me, I feel like, even though I've done 2 years, there's a solid year of kind of grasping kind of what it is that we kind of represent, but that needs teeth. And so it was a good meeting, and I'm really looking forward to like being able to really kind of help mold this and have it be something that's solid. But I thought it was a good meeting, but I think it'll probably be one of several that are needed.
Yeah, I agree, I thought that, it seems like, I guess, typically committees meet with this kind of meeting would have happened earlier. And so we've sort of been like. Building, plan and flying it, on our own without any like overarching guidance of what the expectations were. And so this was actually really helpful to hear from them because I think that we have felt. Or I can't speak for anyone else. I have sometimes felt constrained on like what the expectation for the committee is and we've done a lot of like really great work within the sort of confines that we've built for ourselves. And it felt like from the city council and mayor that they wanna like broaden that remit for us, and that they do see a role for us to be playing in like policy review or like more meatier topics, I would say, and projects outside of like thus far, the committee has focused a lot on events. And that there is a vision of this committee like being much more focused on policy. And working with the mayor and city council to like better, to like relook at like looking at the work plan and saying like, where could we like build this out more? So that it isn't so events focused. And I was really excited by that, because I think that it leaves the door open for us to like evolve the work of this committee like pretty substantially.
Would the committee focus on a specific area of policy?
So, yeah, I think what they had mentioned were, and like that, I guess maybe this has been happening and just hasn't sort of like gone to the next level, but like things will come to city council and they'll be like, oh, maybe this is something that the idea committee could look at. Like, we should have their like recommendations for this. But this thus far, it like hasn't gone that, it's never come to us. And so in the meeting, we were like, we would love to do that, please, yes, like, send us, like, let us review those things and let us be more involved in that. I think, to Carol's point, we also talked a lot about like, this is a really unique moment in time, and so there's also a lot that we don't know. Brisbane doesn't get a ton of money from the federal government, but we get some, and so like, this is not a time to be in well, I think on the one hand, you have like San Mateo County saying like, we are committed to this work, and then you're seeing a lot of organizations and places that are like, oh, we're stepping back. So I think there was also a little bit of wait and see on like what the impacts of the administration are gonna be. But in general, there is a mutual desire for this committee to be more involved in like the work of,
Policy and.
yeah, and I mean, there was even an example of the like, council member Madison is on the like history committee, subcommittee, and she was talking about how there's like some like not great history about Brisbane of like racism and policies and stuff, and like, how do we talk about that publicly? Do we talk about it?
Yes.
Do we try to hide it, and so like, that, is there, well,
I mean,
exactly.
hiding never worked, like, I don't think hiding is.
And is there, and
way
so
to
like,
go.
what, and so exactly that, like, what would the role of this committee be in advising or recommending? Like, with that lens, what the history subcommittee does. And so I thought it was really great to like, hear that they cared about that, and like, that is what they want to see from us, and just figuring out like what that looks like.
I agree. I thought, it was great for Madison to have shared that too. Because it's, just gives you this, again, a different lens of, obviously the history of Brisbane, but again, what is our part in kind of, making that open and available, but also, again, being a representative of, hey, this is what we stand for as Brisbane now, and it's not
Which is-
necessarily reflective of the history of Brisbane, so. I agree, I thought that was good. And again, more discussions like that, but again, something that they can pass along our way that we can really like sink our teeth into and really get that policy experience under our belt, and I think that might even be able to tailor our direction better, by really getting in there and saying, oh, okay, this is what this looks and feels like.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. I guess, did either of you get the sense that the council, expected this committee to generate ideas first, or to wait till they generated it, give it to us to refine, retool, comment, etc.? I wasn't sure about who,
Yeah.
like I said, who's on first.
Yeah,
I
I felt
think it can be
both.
like a two-way street.
Yeah, I felt that it was that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cause I think there's a certain level of, I mean, I guess. I don't have the capacity to be attending all of the city council meetings, so I don't really know everything that they're doing.
Mhm.
There could be a world where like. We're attending, we have representation and, but come back and say, hey, that's something that we could be involved in, but at that point, like, how much work has already been done? So I think there's some piece of like, what don't we know
Yeah.
without them
That's
sharing?
fair.
And I think there was also an expectation, because we talked about like, you guys should be doing a survey, that like. That they are identifying things they're already working on that could use like an idea review. And we as a committee should be like bubbling up things that we are seeing in the community that needs further attention.
Now, there have been things in the past that you, Ingrid, have said, that the council has said, oh, this might be something good for the idea committee. I mean, so I don't know, I haven't really kept track of how many of those things we've actually taken and run with. But I mean, in terms of like being represented at those committees, I mean, maybe that could be, some of that could be just Ingrid saying, hey, this is what was mentioned, and then maybe we kind of, have the discussion whether or not that's something, that we felt we had the capacity to take on. But,
Most of it is a request for representatives attending their subcommittee meetings or, kind of like what they did with the, the each friendly
Oh,
word.
yeah.
Open space, the
Mhm.
Sierra Point, when Gesh was part of that.
Mm.
But so it's just based on meetings as needed. But in
Okay.
terms of like topics, it's I guess what we could do is just ask
Well, and I
the
think,
department heads, like, is there something
Yeah.
coming up that
We
needs?
have an idea of what's coming in the
Yeah.
next month or so,
Mhm.
in 2 months.
and I think maybe
Just
when
from
we
the staff
definitely
end.
meet with Jeremy too.
Yeah.
That would be a good.
Question, yeah,
Right.
like procedure wise, actually.
Mhm.
Um,
Great.
I also wanted to add, like, we did talk about it in relationship to the template for the county resolution
Mhm.
template. And this was, well, I had another conversation with the mayor saying like he really liked this part that was brought up, which is
I can't remember which one he said, but
Is
I
it
do
this one?
remember.
I'm sorry, without the intentionality stated in this ordinance, inequitable outcomes linked to race, socioeconomic status, and other identities will persist. So I believe that was the line, correct? That the mayor gravitated towards, and he was like, so what's our answer? What is the committee's answer? What kind of outcomes would we as a committee like to do to, knowing these inequities? And what else? And then the other thing that was brought up when I did speak with the city manager, what was really exciting to me was that he really wants this to be a committee-led work. As opposed to staff-led work. So yeah, we're all ears. We have, we got granted resources for the work that we do. How much did we say? Was it 2,000
Per year?
On
per
the
calendar?
spot.
Is that for 12 months or?
For the year,
For the
yeah.
year.
for the-
Does your budget go January to January?
July
No,
1st to
July,
June
July.
30th.
So that money will be allocated in July?
Yeah,
Okay, so now we don't have anything.
well, we've been
That's okay.
using Betsy revenues.
We have some,
That's
some,
not a
but
problem.
most of our,
But it looks like most of the events will be happening later in the year anyway, right? Those should be okay.
I think so.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
the
think
volume.
we're doing anything in May. I mean, it's getting so close that I isn't gonna
Well,
happen at this
is it
point.
gonna make a
Yeah.
specific I mean, we could talk about it at the work plan with people.
Okay.
I mean, I think, I'm just gonna say this resolution template, equity in government, this template, not the one that, like, if we wanted to make this powerful
Mhm.
and yet not put, a gigantic red flag out for people, we could work on the language of this, powerfully, not,
Yes.
I don't wanna do anything that's wishy-washy, but the stuff that's in there, it may mean that we'll have to we'll have to take out the specific mentions of the people who have experienced lack of diversity and et cetera, but frankly, the list is limited. And that's not just racial inequality that happens, so we could maybe look at that if that's something we wanted to take on, but I wanted to know what the two of you felt. Do you think that is worth doing? I don't know.
I do think it's worth doing, for sure. The question for me is like, you know, again, because I think the consensus is that we kind of are, you know, maybe we're waiting for the meeting with, you know,
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, that's
City
true. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
realize you.
The city manager.
yeah, with the city
Yeah.
manager, Dennis. And so I think after that, we should, hopefully we'll kind of be off to the races in terms of just having more direction and knowing, like what the real focus is and should be, and just kind of have, you know, just something a little bit more solid. But I do think that, you know, in terms of, you know, maybe crafting that language, you know, you're gonna be very instrumental in that.
Well, I think we could, I don't think it would be hard, to be
Yeah.
honest. I mean, the principles are powerful here anyway.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of, I hate to say, playing with the grammar and the language, but you can. I write for the government, you know, you can write what you wanna write. You can make it powerful and not step on buzzwords.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know, like
Well, that is something that city manager Dennis did offer, was share about like the three like phrases. He did send an email to staff, Ingrid and I, just throwing out some words to help the
Mhm.
committee as they think about the
Mhm.
activities moving forward. And one of them is belonging.
Belonging is
One
a
of
good
them,
one.
another one's
Or welcoming,
vibrant,
right.
vibrant communities. And also celebrating differences,
Mhm.
which I think is all things that we've done in like the work.
Yeah.
With events, but
Mhm.
yeah, just having it couched under different terminology.
Yeah.
And allows us to continue, but also build on
We've heard a lot of like shifting from equity to access.
access. Oh,
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, there are things to do for this, so it's not quite in your face. But it says the same thing, you know, it really says the same thing. And that's the whole point. Is to get people to know this is what kind of we stand for. And I'm not an attorney, but I bet you we could do it, that's what I think.
So like most things, it's kind of like a big play on words.
Yeah, well.
And that's fine because that is the environment that we're in now. I think the important thing is that, you know, kind of what this committee stands for doesn't change.
Yeah.
But, you know, I guess you could play with the words as much as you like, pretty much.
I did, we looked at our mega menus on our website this week and I was looking at the government one and it lists out all the different commissions and committees under city council and IDEA was like all spelled out. And I actually just wanted it to be on one row for formatting, so I did
Aesthetic.
change it to IDEA.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about a little bit about the optics of
Mhm.
whoever should come across our site and be looking around. It's there, but it's not as in your face.
Right.
I mean, I do think it's prudent right now to still do our work, cause it's really, really, really needed. And yet, it would be prudent not to, well, I put my glasses on, to, rub people's face and honest to goodness.
Yeah. Is everyone okay with keeping the IDEA name? I mean, that's a good way to start.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
It's catchy.
Yeah.
I mean, I do-
yeah, no, I think it's good, I think
Mhm.
it's really good, and it can be explained by lots of things.
Mhm. Good to have
Put my glasses on, sorry.
consensus.
Maria, you wanna talk to us about your chat ideas here?
Well, what I'm hearing is a little bit like we don't have direction, and sometimes as someone that comes from change management, in a way, I do coaching, but I have been a change management consultant. Sometimes it's, we're not killing anyone if we have ideas. And if you don't like the ideas, okay, that's fine, no problem. I mean, what I'm saying is, could we explore any of these ideas as something that could potentially be used? And I agree with what I think Carol said around this language. All these principles will be around, but then how do we rewrite it? And does idea needs to be rewritten, or is it okay the way it is? Do we need to look at the new purpose of what this committee would be like, or would still be an idea, but then what is the purpose? What are we gonna work towards? So maybe even a session around defining all this, and maybe this is the session around the language, I don't know. Just some thoughts on my end, because when we think of belonging, when we think of including people, what does it mean? Balancing community needs, and maybe what is the systemic impact that our work is gonna do, and what are the governance structures. And while if we're waiting for orders, that's fine too. But what if sometimes it's more about ideas, and then we put it on the table, and then, hey, you take it or you leave it, or these are some thoughts.
How about, do you have this document that, this is, I don't have there's been a couple of versions, but this one that starts out. Resolution template, equity in government, local jurisdiction commitment to advance equity and shared prosperity. Do you have that in Word?
Unfortunately, it's a PDF, but we could ask for it in Word.
It would be great if you'd ask for it in Word, because if I got enthusiastic, I might.
Start playing.
Policy subcommittee can
Mhm.
say
It's
that.
with it.
You know, and it's not gonna go anywhere. I'm just saying if I,
Oh, and I forgot to also add that, city manager Dennis also was saying he wanted to know from the group what resources you would need from staff, from him, like, he's also open. So any research you want us to do, any data you need, any.
Maybe it would be good to know what other towns in Cemetery County are doing.
Mhm.
What is happening in Colma or South San Francisco,
Mhm.
or, all the towns that surround us?
Mhm.
Do they have similar committee? What is their focus?
Mhm.
Cause I think a lot of, like Northern Peninsula, a lot of the cities have like similar socioeconomic groups, residing here. Maybe if you go a little bit more south to Burlingame, it's a little bit higher and maybe a little less diverse, but let's look at the towns that are like our closest neighbors.
I think that's a great idea.
like South City for one.
South City or Colma.
Cause
Colma may be a good example because they're also very small.
Right.
I think even smaller than Brisbane.
Yes,
Yeah.
we
Yes,
have like
they are.
1,000 residents, I think. that are
Alive or
alive.
dead. And how many have these, are
It's
deceased?
good to be alive in Colma.
Yes.
That's their slogan.
Yeah. So South City is about, I think, 50,000 people.
The
and-
South City is very different because there's the dichotomy between what it is now and then sort of, it's almost like the other side of the tracks, what it used to be, the mom and pop industrial stuff, it wasn't gigantic, some of the big steel mills, but there were auto body places, like just smaller stuff. And then the decision made, I don't know how many years ago now, 30 or 40 or so, when Genentech came, that revolutionized, well, we all know what it is right now.
Last year.
Sounds good. we'll let him know too. Anything else?
Do you know if like Homa and stuff has the same kind of governance, like a city mayor and the same kind of structure?
think
I
so.
don't know. Okay.
Yeah, there's the town versus the city, but I think other than that,
Yeah,
same.
similar, but I'm not sure if they have a similar like idea committee established.
No, I know, but just do they have like the same governance type
Yes.
stuff? Okay.
South
Nothing I
City.
can, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say the South City has like a calendar of their
Mhm.
notable dates that they have on their website, and we actually borrowed their terminology.
That's good.
When updating the idea page and doing our calendar, I'll have to look it up
I
right
think
now.
they've gotten really, aggressive in terms of like just with all the new, development they have going on, even the new library. and-
South City.
Yeah, South
Yeah.
City.
The library is actually beautiful.
Yeah,
I
I've
went
been in there, yeah.
Very nice, and they have the parks, they have like the parks and recs and
Yeah.
the library and a really nice playground right in
Mhm.
front.
Where is it, if you don't mind my asking?
Chestnut and El Camino.
Right near the new police station.
Yeah.
I think that's, yeah, sorry. I don't know I only know where I live up there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Calendar of culturally significant dates.
Well, that's cool.
I thought it was nice. Borrowed it.
But I think that is, great from, city manager Dennis. If I think of anything, I mean, I'm really happy that he put that, out there because, I think as we dig deeper into this, there will be resources and information that we'll need from staff, so I like that. Thank you. Okay. Are we done with the?
Oh,
report out?
I'm sorry, maybe we could also, at the end of the meeting, just come with different dates that you can meet together. with-
Okay,
With the city manager,
Yeah.
so it'll be easier for the
Amy
scheduler.
Email.
Oh, okay, did you already respond to those?
I did,
inquiries? Okay.
but mine, was basing it on like when I'm working from home. So they're
Okay.
on my birthday, but happy to.
Okay,
I
So
do.
maybe we get it,
okay.
and we can check with your dates and then we check with Anna.
Okay.
Thank
Can you do during the day or some days? probably.
How's
Some
your
days,
cab?
Okay, that's-
Oh,
I'm there, still employed right now.
I was gonna say, I didn't wanna ask you.
we were
but
all wondering.
You said you looked a little bit upbeat, so I thought that was a good thing.
Still getting a paycheck, gotta be happy about that, so, yeah.
Well, good, that's a hard thing, I know. I'm just curious, where's your office, if you work for an office, or do you go to an office?
Oh, yeah,
Downtown,
cause
right?
telework is like dead,
Mm,
so,
yeah.
and so it's in San Francisco.
It is, oh,
Mhm.
okay.
You're at this HUD, right?
Mhm.
Are you in the federal building?
No, we're not in we're in a shared building on Sansom Street, private company, so.
Oh, sort of off the Embarcadero?
No, like downtown Sansom.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, by USA,
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Do you take BART to Embarcadero?
no. I don't deal with that public transportation stuff, I do not, I
It's quite an
can't.
experience, you should.
You know what,
I'm sure you did in
probably-
your life,
I
right?
did for many, many years, cause most of the time I've worked in downtown San Francisco, so yes, I feel like I've paid my penance to public transportation. And I'm like,
Graduated.
yeah,
Mhm.
kind of done with that, so really be, something special now for me to be on public.
You transitioned an athlete for public transportation assistant. Hmm.
Especially for San Francisco, it's like, it's just different, so it's like, no, even my husband was like, yeah, no. You just.
No, it's quite the thing. I used to work in the Embarcadero for something, and I would get on it. Sanborn or South City, I think I did. It was, quite the thing,
Mhm.
just quite the thing.
Definitely, and still is from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go in twice a week, so I take public transportation.
Mhm.
It's okay, I don't mind, I don't like to drive, so I just park at the BART station
Mhm.
Yeah.
and go.
Well, that's better all the way around.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't.
I probably need to leave at like 7 tonight. So we have a babysitter.
Good. Okay,
Here.
all right.
You have little ones, right?
Yeah.
Preschool age?
Yeah, well, a 4.5-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
Is your 4.5-year-old starting kinder in the fall here in VES?
Yeah, we just signed her up for her assessment.
Assessment.
So we're,
What'd you say?
work plan review?
What'd you say, assessment?
I don't know. She's like a sociopath.
Okay, so let's have the. staff
You know we didn't say.
Don't make me cry. That's cute.
Okay.
Sorry. We just, Tyler is out.
Yeah, no, I completely understand.
Yes. Let's move along here. Work plan review.
Yes.
I guess the direction would be to just table this until the meeting with the city manager.
Mhm.
But let me ask questions about this, because I also am new to this too here. So there was this work plan. And Madison thought it was soft, so what does that mean to you? You guys are experienced, I am not. So what does that say to you? We won't tell anyone we're sworn to secrecy.
This is a recording.
Well,
It'll be published.
well, yeah.
It means we
It's not
just need to
meaty.
continue
Evolving.
developing, that's all.
We're
It's-
starting, I think they
yeah.
realize that they haven't provided a lot of direction because. No, they didn't give a reason, it was created because they felt like it was the right thing to do at the time. And they
Right.
wanted to see it continue, but they don't have quite the visibility as to what that looks like. But they said, look at the previous resolutions, like work that has already been done in terms of resolution. So do you guys need that information as to what the city council has already adopted in terms of like what they stand for, like, I know there's been like at least 4 or 5.
Yeah, we can email that information to the
Mhm.
group too. The different
You
resolutions and
worked on, because you were here the longest, you worked on the thing about the flag, which I didn't know much about, even though I've lived here the longest. Would that sort of work be really helpful for us to understand? Because that's sort of the grassroots of developing the context and the consciousness, at least I think, from what I'm piecing between the lines and you don't have to say it all, but if
Yeah.
that resolution that came out of that work, I think it would be helpful to.
Yeah, and so I mean, that really, that felt quite organic. My understanding is that someone came to city council and was like, I wanna put up this, this type of flag, and the city council was like, huh. We
don't
don't
have
have a policy
anything
on
right
that,
now
like,
in
we
place,
have no
yeah.
response to that,
Mhm.
and maybe this is something that. the
But
idea
that's
committee could
cool,
do.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's
no,
the
it
cool
was.
stuff,
And so, yeah, and it's,
That's
And-
all on the idea page of like the
Mhm.
staff report and the procedures now. Of how if we get a request, the request will come in to Ingrid and I, we will review it and then we'll share it if it's
yeah.
appropriate with the committee and then.
And I think that the goal is just for them, for city council, and maybe this is what, that's meeting with, city manager, and like if we have another meeting with the council members and stuff.
Right.
Is that felt a bit like reactive, that someone came and they're like, oh, we don't know, let's give this to them, rather than city council working on something and
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
like,
sounds
oh,
like
let's
it.
bring them in. And so hopefully that'll shift.
Right.
Well, am I hearing you correctly then that this stuff that you're referring to is on, now I'm gonna embarrassingly say that I haven't really spent a whole lot of time on the idea page, but it's on there.
Mhm.
Why don't you, at least for me, if you're gonna send us stuff, include again the URL for the idea
Okay.
page? That would poke me to do it, I
Yeah,
admit
there's
it.
a short URL, so you don't have to remember it.
That's right.
brisbanecity.org/idea.
Oh,
Gets you to our page. And then when you get there, it looks like a little bit longer, but it'll get you there.
okay.
But we can send that.
From the Brisbane page, okay.
Moving on. Announcements. Staff announcements.
On Friday, we are going to be delivering the toiletries from our service learning project. It's gonna be at the Catholic Worker Hospitality House, which is housed at the St. Bruno's Church in San Bruno. It's on San Bruno Avenue in San Bruno, it's called St. Bruno's Church. Clever, okay. So, it's gonna be Friday at 10:30. People want to accompany Caroline and I. It's also a way for us to get to know the organization more deeply and. So the staff members available that day, if anybody.
I'm not sure.
It's at what,
I
10
forgot
o'clock?
my
10:30, like leave here by 10.
Yeah, leave at 10 and get there,
10:30.
meet Peter. at 10:30.
And, for how long?
Probably just
Yeah.
like an hour, no more than that.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe even less, you just want else to do with that. I'll put all the toiletries in a nicer basket. We'll see.
I have to look at my phone. I don't know.
I can,
I
send-
cannot remember.
We'll
I'll
put
send
it
out the
in the email
invitation,
too, or an
And I'll
invitation.
send it now.
Okay. Accept it if you can come. Maybe we can carve the from
10 o'clock.
the
I'm-
annex.
Like I said, I'm on my phone. Sorry. I cannot remember what I'm doing. I think today's Wednesday. right?
It is.
It is Wednesdays the 19th.
You're right.
Look at that time change.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other announcements? Hearing none. I think it's safe to say, we are adjourning. This meeting is adjourned at 6:52 PM.
That was fast.
Time to
Bye.
spare.
Yeah, so the next one is April 16th,
The third.
so
Yes.
third Wednesday, thank you.
Always the
Yeah.
third Wednesday,
And is it gonna be here or does,
Yeah,
does it go?
it's gonna be here
like
Okay,
in this
because-
conference
in
room.
this country.
Cause I
Okay.
went to the, like last time I came here, I went.
Right.
Today.
Sorry about that. There's a lot of confusion. The other subcommittees also meeting across the street, so there's like, sorry. So we'll put up notices and things like that. So there's no confusion.
Yeah, just like pay attention to this part too, the
Yeah, and-
address.
Just like a very last minute suggestion,
Mhm.
it's too late for this year, but for next year, maybe we could have some women-centered events, at least one in March.
In
Mhm.
March.
And
yeah.
around like March 8th, the International Women's Day, since
Mhm.
this committee is all female.
I was just thinking.
That's a good idea.
Just to honor.
Uh-huh.
Why don't we
women.
just have one?
Like get it together in the next.
Why don't we just
Week.
have it? Forget that it's not marching.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, there's gotta be some women-centric something we can find.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
We'll research that too.
All right.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Good to
Meeting
see you all.
adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any support you need for your
Thank you.
job thing, the craziness in your job,
Bye, Maria. We're gonna log out.
she goes sleep
Go to
now.
sleep.
All right, we'll see you then in Brisbane.
Yes, we will welcome you back in April.
Safe travels back.
Take care,
Thank
bye.
you. Take care.